Everyone. Well, today the topic of our presentation is prepositions. So we are going to talk a little bit about prepositions, how to use them and when to use them. And first, let me start with a little bit of introduction about prepositions. What actually are they? So prepositions are actually a part of speech which help to link nouns, pronouns, phrases, or other words with a sentence. The prepositions usually connect people, place, objects, time, and location of a sentence. Prepositions, well, sometimes they are very difficult for some people, and the nice way to think about preposition is you must understand is how this word help you to make the sentence. How does it glue a sentence together, or how does it glue a sentence or a noun and a pronoun together? So they usually express position, moment, position, time of a noun or of a what another point I would like to say is the key point that I would like you guys to pay attention on is you must understand and think for a while. Like if I'm using a preposition, be it in, on, or at, you must understand what does it mean and why I have to use this certain preposition. It may be, and it is usually sometimes very different how you use in your native language. So these things can be completely different. Now, we today are going to talk about in, on, and at. These are the three common prepositions and most confusing sometimes for some people. If you pay attention on the diagram, I will be explaining them a little bit further, but you see in this is a square and it has got a boundary that is it is in certain limits. uh, Next one is on, so it looks like a surface, the top of a surface of something. And at is a point in a circle here, so it's a point in time. These three prepositions usually talk about place or time. Let's move to our next slide. And the next slide, which we're going to talk about, is the definition or a little bit tips about prepositions. I won't be using the whole text for now, but I'll tell you one vivid example is like, I have got an example here. I work at a bank and I work in a bank. Both of these sentences are right. So at a bank is a point, and in a bank is in a location is inside the bank, inside the premises of the bank. So when I will be explaining the whole grammar, the whole prepositions, I think it would be much clearer for you to understand why in our previous slide we had used I worked at a bank and we worked in a bank, or both of them are correct. So the key for the prepositions is you must understand how it influences your sentence. What does it mean? And you must understand, does it clearly communicate what actually you're thinking about? We're talking now about the preposition in. I would like you to pay attention on these yellow dots, which actually represent sun in my picture. And we have got different times of the day. It's morning, noon, afternoon, evening. Why it has been here is because uh, morning, afternoon, and evening, it's a period of time which has a start and which has an end. So morning starts at a certain time when the sun rises in the morning. Then we have got afternoon, and when the sun sets, we have got evening. The same is the case with seasons of the year. So we have got winter, we have got spring, summer, autumn, or fall, as you say in US. Winter starts in December, then goes to January and February. Spring is March, April, May. Summer is June, July, August. And autumn or fall is September, October, and November. So there is a period of time when it starts, and there's a period of time when it actually ends. The month I have here is December. So December will start on 1st and will finish on 31st. So again, in all these three examples, it's quite clear that there's a period of time when a certain thing starts, and there's a period of time when the certain thing is going to end. Now, let's move to our next slide. And the next slide is again about in. So we have got supermarket, we have got bedroom here, and we've got shower. So why we are using in these cases, and if you go to this map here, we have got France and we have got Texas. We're also using in. It's quite simple. When you're referring to something that is inside, so it has got confined boundaries. Yeah, supermarket, be it bedroom or it be shower, there are certain boundaries. So that's the reason we're putting in. And France is located in Europe and it has got boundaries. Texas is located in US, it has got boundaries. So anything that has got boundaries, it is going to be in. Now let's talk about some examples. We have got months of the year. As I have said earlier, we are using in February, we're using in March, because there is a period of time when it starts, there's a period of time when it ends. The next one, season, spring or summer, it starts at certain time, it finishes at certain time. Year, decades, centuries also have got limits. It starts at sometimes and it finishes at sometimes. Space, a 3D space, like a bag or a classroom, it has got boundaries. Territory, let it be Oxford, our country, Kazakhstan, Alps, or the whole world. So it has got quite a map. Yeah, so you Oxford, if you print it in UK or you print it in Kazakhstan or you print it in somewhere in Australia, the the map of Oxford will be same. So I'm in Oxford right now, and you are in Kazakhstan. So it can be different. Now, when you talk about a printed material, here I would like to take example with the picture. Yeah, so the picture you see in the picture is limited. Yeah, so picture can't be outside a paper, be it a paper or a canvas. So it is in long periods. Again, it is a period. Period means time. Yeah, so ice age, it started at a certain time and finished at a certain time. Present, past, and future has time limits. Next century again has time limits. Now, parts of the day, in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening, as it was in my previous slide where we had sun, we know that morning starts when it is dawn and the day finishes at the dusk. Now, at night, why at night? Let me put the answer this way. Well, when the language was created, uh, now we get up in the morning and you look at your uh, clock, alarm clock, or your mobile phone, and you know that it's 7 o'clock in the morning. In the past, when the language was developed, we don't have specific time. We don't know that the morning starts at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and it will finish at 11:59 or 12 o'clock, and then we'll start afternoon. At night, night doesn't have a limit. So for morning, afternoon, and evening, we have the sun, the location of the sun. Now, for example, at 3 o'clock in the noon, the sun is located right above your head. And when you look up, you can understand it's 3 o'clock. And that we don't do for the night. We can't look for a sun at night and or look at the position of moon and say, "Oh, okay, moon is on the top of my head, so it's 3 o'clock in the morning, or moon is on my left side, so it is going to be much earlier night. And when it is a little bit on the right side or maybe away from my right, so it's going to be early morning. So night doesn't have a time frame, so that's why we are using at night. Yeah, when we will be talking about at, I think it will be also much clearer for you to know, understand like why we are using at here. Uh, Going to the parts of the year, in an hour, in 5 years, in 5 days, in 5 weeks. Needless to say, it's again a period of time. That is the reason why we have put here in. Now, we are moving to our next slide that is going to be on. So on Monday, on 18 December, on New Year's Day, yeah. So we are using on because for using the preposition on, when the period of time starts and when the period of time ends is not important. So when we are considering Monday, we're not considering time. We're just considering Monday as a day. So we're not putting a timeline of start, we're not putting a timeline of end. And 18th of December, the same will be this situation, or New Year's Day, because day and day actually they are the same. So that's why we're using on day and on Monday. So this is the same situation. If I go to our next slide, which is on, I think this is the simplest of prepositions to use. Yeah, it is on. And in my first slides, I have said like on we use when you are referring to something with a surface. So on the fourth floor, on the table, on the road, or on the bus. In all these four examples, it is quite clear that there is a surface that this man is standing. So he's on the fourth floor. He is on the table, he's on the road, he's on the bus. In all these cases, we are using on because we have got a surface. Moving to some of the examples. Well, on Thursday, on my birthday, or on Christmas Day, as I said earlier, it's because of day. We are considering time as a whole. Start and end is not important. The date on 12th February, just as a not timeline. We're not talking about morning, we're not talking about afternoon, we're not talking about evening, we're just taking it as a date. I think we have got some more example here is like days are part of the day or Monday. Actually, it is the same thing here. On the surface, as it was in the previous slide, we use on the table, on the carpet, on the roof, on the first floor, because there is a surface. So on the right is the location, on the right, on the left. And for medias, for all, I would like to make a note here that for all medias, we will use for sure on. So it's on the radio, on the TV, on the internet, on a website. And public transport, again, there is a surface that you stand on. That is why you say on the bus. Then we have got train or a plane you stand on. That is why we say on. And here the point is public transport. Yeah. So let's go to the next slide. This slide is going to talk about at a point in time. So when you say at, so we have moved now to our preposition at. As I had said, at usually talks about a point, a certain point in time. So if you consider time as a whole and you just point at somewhere. So it's like 24 hours in a day, and at 10 o'clock, the 10 o'clock is a point in these 24 hours, and 12 noon is again a point of the day. And when we are talking about an event in time, so if you take the whole time frame and you talk about an event in time, then sunset is kind of event that takes place during the whole day. Sunrise is a kind of event that takes place at a certain part of the day, and the night is something that comes in the evening. So it's like an event, and this is the reason why uh, we say at the party, yeah, because this is an event, and at is again used when you're referring to something at a specific point. So we're not talking about boundaries that we were talking in the preposition in. We're talking about a specific point. So you're not talking about the building that you're inside. You're talking about a point, a location you're close to or you're near in. So you are at the supermarket, you are at the bus stop. Uh, I would say, and then one more example is like when you talk about something in general and you're not specific about, you're not talking about boundaries. Uh, you can say, uh, I'm at home, and at the same time, you can say, I am uh, in my cabinet. Uh, this is like at, you said, in a general context, and in you have used because you are talking about the boundaries. In my example, it is going to be my cabinet. And the next one is at an event, at a yoga, or at a concert. Uh, well, as an event, I would say as a yoga class, yeah, and at a concert because this is an event. So this is the reason why we're putting at an event. And if we look at some examples, time of the day, as it was in our previous example, at 4 o'clock, at 10:30, at noon, at midnight, at breakfast. So it's just a point at breakfast, at bedtime when you go to the bed. Holidays or events like at Christmas, at Nowruz, yeah. Meal times, yeah, when you have lunch, dinner, or tea time. This is a point in the time. So you say at lunchtime, at dinner, at tea time. Group activities or what is an event? We say at a party, at a concert, at home. And certain expressions like at present, at night, at midnight, because it happened during the day, at midnight, at night, yeah, and at the point. So when you are talking about at a point, like say at the door, I would like to go a little bit further here and just go back to the history a little bit. Uh, let's imagine a situation when this language, the English language, was created. When we're talking about the door itself, we're not talking about the door. We won't see a door, a wooden. So it might have been an entrance where you would enter. So that is why this is a location. So I'm at the door. It doesn't mean that you are standing before a wooden something door which will have a handle which you will open. So it's actually a point. So that's the reason we are saying about at the door, or if you talk about the crossroads. So at the crossroads is also a point. At home, as I had said earlier, at school, the same a point. We're saying in general at the bakery is we're talking about in general at work. I'm at work now, but I am in my room or in my cabinet. He's at the party, he's at the concert, and at the top. Now, when we talk about at the top, we know that we have got one more thing that is on the top. So, guys, what's the difference between at the top and on the top? Well, at the top is something that is in general vicinity, yeah, of the top of something. Like, for example, we would say that our forehead uh, is at the top of our head. Yeah, but when you have to wear a cap or a hat, you wear it on top of your head. So the simple thing is at the top of the mountain. Yeah, this is the higher end of something that is at the top. And when you place something on something, that it becomes on top of it. Yeah. So on top of it sometimes it's like plus, in addition. Uh, I have got some here examples, yeah, which I think uh, are talking about at, on, and in, which you can just pause the video for some time and just have a look at it. So I'm not going to use your time for reading it. There are only 24 examples, I suppose, and I think they will be much clearer. Now, let's talk about common questions to our next slide. Yeah, so on. When we're talking about on is sometimes used in a very abstract sense. Yeah, when we talk about on, we look at the object and we see the surface. In my case, we got an apple, and if you look at an apple, so it quite be quite difficult to say like where does the surface of the apple start and where does it end. So I can start from here. I can start from here. Well, I can't tilt it, but I can start from this way or just behind the apple. So that is on is like more abstract. Yeah. And take another example. Before us, we have got map of Earth. We know that Earth is round and the map is actually a kind of sphere, a globe. And when you open it, it comes in the form of paper, a sheet, a rectangle. Yeah. And in this picture, we have got Europe and Africa. Africa is here, and this is Europe. So they are somewhere in the middle. And then we have got the same map, but we have got Pacific in the middle. So both maps shows the surface of the Earth. So there's no clear place where I would say I should start from here, I should start from here, or start of the world is here, or start of the world is here, right, from Kazakhstan. So it doesn't apply to the surface of any physical object, so it can be anywhere. So that's why sometimes it's a kind of abstract to use. And use of on is also based that on the fact that something that doesn't have a clear start or it doesn't have a clear end. Sometimes uh, on has got a little bit of different meaning. Yeah, put a cap on. Well, on is like, of course, you place it on top of your head, and uh, there is like, come on. Yeah, don't stop on. So come on, that means you don't stop and you just proceed and continue. And one more example is like last night we went on and on about British politics, like last night John went on and on about British politics. So on and on, it means it continued and continued. It has no end. And this is the fact like about what we are saying. We use on as an abstract where it has no start, it has no end. So that's why he went on and on. That means he continued. Yeah, come on, that means continue. Yeah, so this is like when on is used in the abstract form. And the last example that I would like to talk about is on the weekend and at the weekend. I would say both of them are correct. uh, if people are in USA, they would say on the weekend. I usually use at the weekend, but both of them are correct, both of them are logical, both of them make sense, and you can use any of them that you feel comfortable with. So if you're in US, you can use on the weekend. If you're in UK, use at the weekend or use anything that you are comfortable with. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the prepositions. You were a very good audience. Thank you for listening and hope to see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye bye.